What a perfect time for Denny Hamlin to get win number 60 in his career and lock himself into the championship four. And not such great timing for Ryan Blaney and William Byron to open up the round of 8. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Talkin NASCAR. I am your host, Andrew. Thank you all for stopping by to tune into this episode, today's episode. If you missed it yesterday, I posted another little news episode right before the Xfinity Series race on Saturday yesterday. And today I'm going to be talking about the South Point 400 from Las Vegas Motorspeedway to open up the round of 8 in the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. Several big playoff contenders got into some trouble while Denny Hamlin led the charge at the end of the race to lock himself into the championship four. I'm going to cover all that and so much more in this episode, I should say, from this race. And hope you guys enjoyed this and hope you are ready to hear my race recap and thoughts on today's race, the South Point 400 from Las Vegas Motorspeedway. Let's go ahead and start out with stage one. You have in qualifying the lineup being Gibbs with Hamlin, Briscoe, and Bell, 1, 2, 3. And then you have Hendrick in positions 4, 5, and 6. Elliott, Larson, and Byron all lined up there. So it was a pretty stout starting 6 on the grid with Denny Hamlin, of course, on pole. And this track was going to be a very tough one because you're going to have multiple lanes being used at one time. The outside lane could have so much momentum if you use it right. And then you have the bumps in 1 and 2 at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, making it very rough in those turns, making it hard to keep the car planted. You're going to have the dirty and clean air being a factor. Once again, with air blocking, you're also going to have the Las Vegas Motor Speedway track surface with it being very worn out and very less grip, and you're going to have rubber laid down, and this would be a very tough race for all the drivers here today. But then you get the race underway, and immediately Denny Hamlin is not able to hold on to that lead, and his teammate Chase Briscoe is able to storm to the lead as Hamlin reported on the radio that he could not get the car to shift up into fifth gear on that original start, and that would be something that hopefully would not hinder the rest of his race because Hamlin on those shifts. Now with this next gen car, you don't really have to let off to give a little gap in the throttle to make a clean shift. You're just able to shift directly up from first to second, second to third, third to fourth, fourth to fifth, very easily without damaging the transmission at all. While in the old car, you'd have to let off the throttle a little bit to let that shift and the transmission shift a little bit better and avoid hurting your transmission. But now with the transaxle and this sequential shifter, it is much easier for the drivers to shift. But luckily, this issue for Denny Hamlin would not really hinder him throughout the rest of the race, as we would see as we get to the final laps of today's race. Then we'd have our first little bit of cycle of green flag pit stops. Chase Briscoe, after taking the lead, had a terrible green flag pit stop with some issues on the right side of that car, as well on the left side of the car as well, and would lose the lead to Kyle Larson, while Chase Elliott as well, another playoff contender, would run long in his pit box and lose some spots, but Chase Elliott was still able to hold a position in the round, or in the top 10, I should say. And as we got closer to the end of stage one, we'd get our first caution of the day for cause and for incident. It would be Ryan Blaney crashing into the outside wall off of turn 4. Had some steering issues, I believe, go down as well. He had a flat left front tire, made it hard for the car to turn, and Blaney was just along for the ride, man. It was tough to watch. Blaney, just couldn't do anything to control that, couldn't do anything to turn the car away from the wall, slammed the outside wall very, very hard, had damage to the right side, right front of the car, broke the axle, I believe. Just a terrible incident, and that would be the day done for Ryan Blaney, who came in above the cut line, but he would find himself way below the cut line in a pretty deep hole heading into Talladega next week. But we get back racing only a couple laps later, and William Byron would storm to the lead and actually lead some laps for a change, and we'd win stage one, his 8th stage win of the year. And those laps that he would lead at the tail end of stage one would be the first laps he would lead in the playoffs. Man, that is tough. Those are the first laps he's led since Iowa when he got his last victory over a month ago, over 2 months ago at this point, I believe. So this was a very big moment for William Byron, maybe a sign that maybe that 2014 was starting to change or turn a corner, I should say. But Byron would win stage 1, followed by his teammate of Kyle Larson, Chase Briscoe, Denny Hamlin, his teammate of Chase Elliott in 5th, Bubba Wallace after being freshly eliminated from the round of 12, Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, and Ty Gibbs, and Joey Logano just able to scoop up that last stage point in 10th. We'd soon get back racing for stage 2. No pit stops necessary after stage 1 because of that Ryan Blaney caution, allowing guys to pit under caution just before stage 1 and able to stay out after stage 2 got underway. And immediately after stage 2 got underway, it was clear that Tyler Reddick was able to do things that not a lot of guys were able to do. Even Kyle Larson, because Tyler Reddick was able to enter super high in every single corner and run the outside really effectively. Now, Tyler Reddick comes from a dirt background. He is very much used to running the outside lane at these dirt short tracks and carry that momentum. And in this way that Reddick was able to run that super high line, he was able to move through the field super quickly and quickly made his way up inside the top 5 after finishing inside the top 10 at the end of stage 1. While Christopher Bell and Alex Bowman moving his way forward from deep in the field, while Bell, having a really good starting position, quickly fell outside the top 10 for each of them. And it looked like that Bell may have lost what good speed he might have had earlier in that race. But we would get a next cycle of green flag pit stops, and we'd have 2 pretty major penalties. One for Chase Elliott, who had an uncontrolled tire penalty, which was his second error on pit road. And the way I saw it is that after putting on the right side tires, the tire changers taking off the current tires on the car, rolled the tires back to the wall. But that tire on the right front tire that the crew members just took off of Chase Elliott looked like it was going to be heading towards the wall, and then it quickly turned back towards the 34 pit stall. And a team member from the 34 team, about halfway down into the next pit box, stopped the tire, and that would bring out some of the rules for an uncontrolled tire penalty. Chase Elliott would have to come back down pit road to serve that penalty, and that would set Chase Elliott way behind for the rest of this race, and really he could not recover from that, in my opinion. And then Bubba Wallace as well, a guy who had a pretty solid result in stage 1, would get a speeding penalty too fast entering pit road. And I thought Bubba Wallace had a pretty good car along with his teammate of Tyler Reddick. Maybe not quite top 5 speed, but definitely top 10 speed at the bare minimum for Bubba Wallace, but this would really derail his race. However, Chase Elliott, getting back to him, he would be able to stay on the lead lap, or excuse me, get the lucky dog, be the first car 1 lap down. He would get the free pass as his teammate of Kyle Larson would get past William Byron and win stage 2, followed by Tyler Reddick in 2nd, William Byron in 3rd, Denny Hamlin in 4th, Chase Briscoe in 5th, Christopher Bell in 6th, Ty Gibbs in 7th, Alex Bowman in 8th, able to work his way back forward in the late goings of stage 2, Joey Logano in 9th, and Carson Hocevar rounding out the top 10, while Chase Elliott, again, got that free pass, finished in 25th in stage 2. And on the next yellow flag cycle of pit stops after stage 2 ended, Joey Logano would actually lose a bunch of positions as he just had a very, very slow stop. It would fall all the way back down to 16th after being in, I believe he was in 9th, so he lost 7 positions on that pit stop. Not what Logano needed in this race at all, and this would be a very big telling point to what Paul Wolf, his crew chief, would pull out of his hat for strategy later on in this race. But so far, this race has been very orderly, very calm, good green flag racing. Not a lot of carnage, except for the Ryan Blaney caution. But beyond that, it's been pretty solid racing, very clean racing. And this actually allowed me to kind of keep my head turned and allow me to focus on some other stuff like the NFL, which may or may not be a good thing to say on this show as a NASCAR fan, but the amount of calmness and the order in this race, y'all with while having some of the excitement of cars having penalties, execution not being made for Chase Elliott, Bubba Wallace, Kyle Larson getting past William Byron and Reddick working his way forward, as I just mentioned. All that was still very entertaining, but it was a very calm and orderly race. But then on the next green flag pit cycle here in stage 3, William Byron actually get passed by Kyle Larson after Byron would cycle past Kyle Larson after he had a slow stop and getting kind of blocked in by the 43 of Eric Jones. And Byron would really take out to a big lead, while Denny Hamlin would also have a slow stop after running long on a four-tire stop, having some issues on the right side of the car. And this would be the first race that I forgot to mention this. This is the first race that Denny Hamlin's crew would be fully back together. All his crew members have returned from their suspension suffered, I believe, in the round of 16 at Bristol after that loose tire came off. They had a broken wheel, an unsecured tire on the car. So they had all the crew members back, but definitely some rust showing for some of those crew members in this race. But now we jump to lap 237, about 12 laps after this green flag pit stop cycle has kind of subsided, and we're getting about to 30 laps to go in this race. And we have a big crash off turn 4. William Byron, the race leader, crashes into Ty Dillon, who was trying to come to pit road. Excuse me, William Byron was not in first. He was in second, but Ty Dillon, who, again, 12 laps after the pit stop cycle, tried to come to pit road, but did not communicate it with William Byron at all. Nobody behind him, and Byron just plowed straight into the back of Ty Dillon. A vicious impact for that entire crew, for William Byron and Ty Dillon, both luckily able to walk out of their cars and get out okay. And John Hunter Nemechek as well, trying to avoid it, spun down pit road, locked up the tires, just spun all the way back down pit road. I thought he got in it, to be honest with you, but did not make any contact. And Christopher Bell as well, very close call, no sight whatsoever, smoke flying through the air. He has the sun straight in his eyes as he's coming onto the front straightaway, has this wreck right in front of him, and luckily is not able to hit anything. But very lucky for Christopher Bell. But Byron, who looked like he would have a very good race, exactly what he needed to advance into the championship, for a race that he's desperately needed, a race that he desperately needed to get this team back on track. And it looked like some of the fruits of this labor would be paying off. All their work and everything would be paying off, but unfortunately it would come to this and Byron would be done for the day. That would be just heartbreak for William Byron. And I would like to argue for William Byron here, because Ty Dillon messed up. Ty Dillon extremely messed up. You had no idea that Ty Dillon was pitting from William Byron. It's 12 laps after the cycle. You think that the cycle is over. And Ty Dillon, going down the back straightaway, did not give a hand signal. No hand out the window, which is customary etiquette in the NASCAR Cup Series. But there was no hand from Ty Dillon, and Byron just could not really tell that Ty Dillon was slowing down to come to pit road. And Ty Dillon was kind of up the racetrack, in my opinion. He wanted to maybe arc it a little bit more coming to pit road, but at this point, he is pretty far up the racetrack, and he's overshooting pit road entry to some extent. And that's what Ty Dillon messed up, and no hand signal out the window. I'm not surprised that William Byron didn't crash into him. And this is just a terrible lapse in judgment by Ty Dillon, someone that is a NASCAR veteran and should know better. And instead, he ruins the race of a playoff contender in William Byron, who's having a very good race. This is just such a shame to see it happen. But moving on, the next pit stop cycle, you'd have Chase Briscoe, Joey Logano, and Brad Keselowski all take two tires to move up into the first three positions, while Kyle Larson and everyone on back would take four tires and gain that tire advantage. We would get to lap 245 for a restart, and we'd have more chaos. It was not done yet, because Ty Gibbs would end up getting spun into turn 1 after making contact with SVG, who had moved his way up inside the top 10. SVG was having a pretty solid run on an oval that is a very tough oval, I might add. But SVG actually got kind of spun by Christopher Bell, who kind of forced it four wide between Gibbs and SVG, and that sent SVG into Ty Gibbs, sent Gibbs around. SVG gets sent around. AJ Allmendinger off turn 4 would get collected in as well, have a bit of a spin, did not really receive much damage. Chase Elliott would get some damage in his left rear, and as well, Cody Ware would be involved in that crash as Ty Gibbs came flying back down the bank and just plowed straight into the back of Ty Gibbs, and Cody Ware couldn't really do anything. And we give Cody Ware a lot of flack, but I mean, in this accident, he really couldn't do anything to avoid this crash. And it feels like a lot of times this year that Cody Ware, a lot of this stuff is just unforced errors on his part and out of his control. So I feel like I kind of got a feel for Cody Ware, even though he's not exactly the best human being out there. But either way, Ty Gibbs, Joey Logano would all be, not Joey Logano, and SVG would all be done for the day. Next up on the next restart, Joey Logano and Chase Briscoe were able to hold on to their track position for a couple laps initially, but eventually Logano would start fading. He would lose his positions to Denny Hamlin, and eventually Hamlin would march all the way back forward to Chase Briscoe and take the lead, while Kyle Larson also entered into the fold. But eventually Briscoe and Larson just got tangled up together. Larson could not get past the 19, and Denny Hamlin was able to run away for it and win at Las Vegas and lock himself into the championship four with career win number 60. Congratulations to Denny Hamlin, by the way. A much needed milestone. He's now tied for 10th on the all times win list alongside my favorite driver, Kevin Harvick, at 60. And another thing for Denny Hamlin, this was an emotional win for him, man, because coming into this race, his dad is not doing very good. Denny Hamlin Sr. is not doing very well right now. And in Denny's last victory, he dedicated that one to his dad. And I imagine this was exactly the same situation for Denny Hamlin here for his father, who is not in the best condition. What a poetic ending. What a poetic story for Denny Hamlin. And I think this only adds to more of the storylines that are yet to come for Denny Hamlin. Can he get it done in the championship four? Would this be the perfect storyline for Denny Hamlin to do it? We're going to have to wait and see. But Denny Hamlin would get the win at Las Vegas and lock himself into the championship four. Taking a look at the rest of the finishing results here, you got Hamlin and Larson 1-2 as expected. Larson led the most laps with 129 laps led. And coming into this race, if Larson leading 100 laps once again, he had been 3 for 3 in Las Vegas races where he had led over 100 laps. However, that would not be the case as that streak would finally be broken. Christopher Bell would actually get past Chase Briscoe at the end, and Briscoe ran the fastest lap with a 29.39 second lap. So very, very good race for Chase Briscoe as well. Came into this race below the cut line, finds himself in less of a hole, I would say. Tyler Reddick as well finishes in 5th, coming off a fresh elimination from the round of 12, heading into the round of 8. Tough break for Reddick, but still a very good result from him. Joey Logano works his way back up to 6th after being in a pretty big hole to start off this race and this round, and eventually moves his way up into 6th. How about Alex Bowman? Faded back early in this race, was able to work his way back up inside the top 10 and finishes in 7th. This has been a very good track for Alex Bowman, and he showed that today, finishing with a top 10 result. Some other guys that, man, where did they come from in this race? First off, the Las Vegas native of Kyle Busch started all the way back in 32nd, went a lap down at one point, but grinded out a good finish along with his teammate of Austin Dillon. Dillon actually had some good speed today. He was running up inside the top 10 at one point. Dillon did finish out in 25. I won't talk about that, but I guess ball don't lie when you are talking about drivers. But Kyle Busch with a top 10 result in his home track. Two RFK teammates of Preece and Keselowski in 9th and 10th. Preece, pretty good result for Ryan Preece, actually. Kind of entered the picture late, kind of ran mid-pack all day, but a 9th place finish is very good for Ryan Preece. Teammate of Brad Keselowski, the owner, finishes in 10th as well. Austin Cindric, again fresh off an elimination, finishes in 11th. Chris Buescher, the other RFK car, finishes in 12th. Noah Gragson, Las Vegas native, finishes in 13th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in 14th, and Eric Jones in 15th. Some other notable names, Riley Herbst got a top 20 finish in 17th. Chase Elliott down in 18th, not what he needed. Those pit road penalties really, really cost Chase Elliott, and I think if Chase Elliott didn't have those pit road penalties, he would easily be inside the top 5 right now. That's a tough result for Chase Elliott. Bubba Wallace, Ross Chastain. Wallace, that penalty really cost him a good result, finishes in 22nd. Chastain had to start at the back due to unapproved adjustments, finishes in 25th. And then the spring Las Vegas winner of Josh Berry ends up in 26th. Man, what a difference a couple months can make for a team as Josh Berry finishes in 22nd. SVG as well and Ty Gibbs, two drivers with really good speed today. SVG qualified inside the top 15, ran inside the top 10 for a good majority of this race, finishes in 33rd. Gibbs as well, top 10 qualifying effort, ran up inside the top 10, finishes in 34th. And then, of course, you got Byron and Blaney, both outside the top 30, two playoff drivers. Did not need this at all. Byron, I believe, led the third most laps, only behind Chase Briscoe and Larson. Briscoe only led 2 more laps than Byron, so really tough result for William Byron here. But that's a look at your finishing results from Las Vegas Motorspeedway today. Now, taking a look at the playoff grid here, Denny Hamlin has locked himself into the championship four for the first time since 2021. Would you believe me if I told you that Denny Hamlin, a guy that just achieved 60 career wins, has not been in the championship four since 2021, over 4 seasons ago? That is insane. To be fair, he has been kind of screwed over by the Hail Melon and a couple other things. So it's just safe to say that Denny Hamlin has not been treated very kindly when it comes to the round of 8. Kyle Larson now improves his gap on the cutoff line to 35 points, but again, heading into Talladega next week, nobody is safe. Same for Christopher Bell, who's now 20 points above the cut line. Trace Briscoe, who came into this race below the cut line, I believe he came in 14 points below the cut line. Actually, the third driver out. He is now 15 points above the cut line. William Byron, who entered this race above the cut line as well, is now 15 points below the cutoff line. And Byron, he was shaping up to have a pretty good race. He was shaping up to be in the position that Chase Briscoe was in, but apparently that is not the case. Chase Elliott is now 23 points about out of the cut line, I should say, below it. Excuse me. He's now 14. He entered this race 14 points below the cut line, already in a pretty decent sized hole, but now he is in a pretty big hole, I would say. Elliott, Talladega, it's going to be tough for Elliott to advance. He's probably going to need to win his way in, especially with Talladega coming up. Same for Joey Logano, 24 points out, and same for Ryan Blaney, now 31 points out of the championship four. If I did some playoff picks for the championship four, which I kind of forgot about, I probably would have had Hamlin advancing. I would have had Blaney advancing. I would have Larson and Byron. All the guys that came into this race above the cut line, I would have them all in. I would see Bell coming up just short once again. Elliott, I don't think really had the raw pace. Briscoe, I think his playoff inexperience would come back to bite him. And Logano, I just think that he wouldn't purely get it on pace. But heading into this now, I think that Byron's going to have an uphill battle. Blaney's definitely going to have an uphill battle, while Bell and Briscoe have a lot of a good cushion. They have a good cushion right now, and we could potentially see 3 Gibbs cars in the championship four and only 1 Chevy and no Fords. That could be a very interesting championship four. So some storylines already brewing heading into next weekend at Talladega. And don't expect that a playoff driver is going to win this. Don't expect that. Expect that you're going to have a surprise winner. Last year we saw Ricky Stenhouse Jr. get it. Tyler Reddick won it in the spring. This year we saw, I believe it was, who was it this year? Was it Ryan Blaney? I believe it was Ryan Blaney. Let me, if you already know that I'm forgetting this, you know that I am very, very tired. It was his Penske teammate of Austin Cindric that got the win at Talladega. My bad. Wow. Cindric and Logano went back to back at Texas and Talladega. 2 T tracks. Very interesting. So maybe Penske's gonna go back to back at Talladega is what I'm saying. It's what I'm hearing here. But anyway, that's a look at your playoff grid once again. Once again, it is Hamlin, Larson, Bell, and Briscoe above the cut line, while Byron, Elliott, Logano, and Blaney are all below the cut line. Now, to wrap up this episode here this evening, it's time for my race review rating, my race recap rating, whatever you want to call it. The triple R scale is like what I want to call it here. I just rate every single race on a scale of 1%. Very rare that I rate something below 50%, all the way up to 100%, an A plus. I would say this race from Las Vegas was a very good one. You'd had very good racing overall. Multi-groove racing on a worn-out surface. You did have a little bit of dirty air come into a factor here, some air blocking, but it's not been as bad in years past. But you've seen drivers being more creative with their lines, drivers searching for different lines, right in the middle, top, bottom. Very good racing overall, multi-groove racing. That's kind of my favorite part. I really like to see multi-groove racing with lots of passing, and we really saw that today. You also saw a bit of spectacle with some of those crashes between Blaney, Byron, especially that Byron crash. That was a vicious crash, I will say. And as well, you had that restart crash, all that. You had a little bit of pit strategy mixed in there, and Joey Logano did not win this race after taking 2 tires, so that's always a plus. I'm sorry, Joey Logano fans, but I cannot stand seeing Joey Logano in the championship four, and I really am hoping that he doesn't do that. I'd much rather have Cody Ware in the championship four than I would Joey Logano. That's just my opinion. That is my opinion. I would rather see Cody Ware for Rick Rare Racing in the championship four rather than Joey Logano. That's all I'm gonna say. That I just had to rant about that real quick. But getting back to my triple R scale, again, the racing was great. Had a lot of cool things going on. Had some drivers not executing, shaking up the rest of this race. It was a good race overall. Good way to open up the round of 8. Hamlin locking himself into the championship 4. I'm going to give this race an 85%. Believe that's a B on a normal letter grade scale. So it's a very good race overall. But let me know down in the comments what you thought of today's race. Where would you rate it on my triple R scale? Would you have it higher? Would you have it lower? Would you kind of have it in a similar range? You guys are going to have to let me know down in the comment section below. But that's going to do it for me this evening, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Hope you enjoyed today's race at the South Point Casino 400 from Las Vegas Motorspeedway. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you had a lot of fun watching it as I did. Hope your favorite team won. If you are an NFL fan, my team did. The Green Bay Packers got their redemption after their embarrassing tie against the Cowboys a couple weeks ago. So that's always fun. So you have Hamlin winning, Logano losing, and you also have the Packers winning as well. Got a lot of good sports coming up, but I will be tuning into NASCAR, bringing you guys great NASCAR content every single day, so don't you worry about that. But if you did enjoy this episode, please consider giving a like to this video if you're listening on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel as well if you're listening on YouTube. And if you want to check out some of the other shows that I've done, or other episodes I've done on the show, they'll be available on that channel as well. And if you're listening on any other podcast platforms, please consider giving a follow so you don't miss another episode as well. And if you're a big fan of my show, go check out my other show, Talking Sports with Miles and Andrew. I just posted another episode earlier today recapping week 5 of the NFL, so I encourage you guys to go check that out. That will be on the same channel as this show if you're listening on YouTube, and it will be Talking Sports W, Miles and Andrew on any other podcast platform. So please go give that a listen, and also go give it a follow as well. But that's going to do it for me, everybody. Hope you enjoyed today's race. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you in the next episode, the next thing that I do, whether it be on this show or whatever. I'll see you in the next one, everybody. Have a great day. Have a great day tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'll see you very, very soon. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.